I have to crawl around up here in the rafters. Got it out at full extension of the upper boom. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Dave, and this is Alaskan Homesteading. It is a beautiful sunny day here in south central Alaska. It's about 50 degrees. The sun is out, we've got some wind, and I am going to work on a project in the shop. This is a project I've gotten started on already, and I did some of the drudgery part of it, but now I want to do the completion. What I'm working on is a garage door opener. I have really big 14-foot high by 12-foot wide shop doors, and I have one opener installed, and I need to install the second one. I was held up because I needed to cut the end off of the jack shaft. I'll show you that in a little bit. And now I have got everything I need, and I'm going to go ahead and get started. On this door, you can see I've already got one side mount opener installed, and everything is working well, so I went ahead and bought a second opener to put on that door. I started to install it and realized that with the way the jack shaft was, it was too long and the opener was positioned too far away to the side. So I had to cut that off with a hacksaw by hand. That was super fun. But now I'm ready to go ahead and finish mounting that and get this door set up. On the table here, I have all the stuff that's left to install. We've got the main opener unit, which is a really nice compact side mount system. These mount right onto the jack shaft that drives the door up and down. This is a lock that you put on the side of the door, and it locks through the track, keeps the door from going up or down for security purposes. This is a battery backup that mounts on the main unit. It provides power to the system in the event of a power outage. This is a light that's meant to go overhead. It triggers on and off when the opener is operating. Pairs up by Bluetooth. We've got the wall mount opener. That also is paired by Bluetooth, so you don't have to have a crummy little wire running, stapled to the wall from this all the way up to the main unit. And here is the visor remote for in the car. These are the safety sensors that get mounted at the bottom of the door that trigger the door to stop if somebody walks in or out while it's closing. And then we've got the manual, which I'm not a big fan of reading manuals just because, it's just how I am, but these things are complicated enough. It really does merit studying what the manual says. At any rate, let's go ahead and get started.
Motion detected at the homestead side door.
As I mentioned, I had to cut the end of this jack shaft off because it was sticking out a little bit too far, and that was keeping the opener mounted too far to the left here, because I need to have that bracket attached to this piece here that I've screwed on to the framing, and that's what's going to stabilize the opener. You can see on the other side what that looks like. We've got the opener mounted here, and just kind of one bracket there holds it on, and it just turns this shaft, which opens and closes the door. These shafts are keyed, and the setup comes with a key, and that goes in the shaft. You put this collar on first, and inside the collar is keyed as well. So that's what allows it to twist the shaft with more than just the friction of these bolts pushing on it. The key actually creates a positive interaction between the collar and the shaft. So we'll just slide that on down there, and then we put the opener on here. And now we're going to see an example of why these jobs always take longer than you think they will. There is something different about the way this side is framed up than the other side. And I'm going to have to take a quick look and see what it is. But you can see this opener is not vertical. It should be. I don't think it really matters, but it's correct for it to be vertical, and I want it to be vertical. So I'm going to have to make some kind of a change over here, I think. Let's take a look at the other side and see why it's different. Because we've got the same 2x4 mounted to the same front wall of the shop. And, oh, I think I see what it is. The way the framing is, there's a gap here of about 1/4 inch, maybe a little bit more, and maybe 5/16. And so that's pushed this bracket forward, which allows the opener to sit forward just enough that it's flush and vertical with that 2x4. And the question is, what am I going to do about it? So I don't really want to be fooling around with this all day. After a quick consultation with myself, I am going to take down this 2x4 that I'm using for support for the opener. I'm going to rip, I don't know, 3/4 or 1/2 inch off of it on the table saw, and then reinstall it. And that will allow me to rotate the opener back into its position. I'll show again why I can't. This support bracket on the side has a slot in it that, you know, I don't think I can get any further back. But you know what? You know what? Maybe I can. Maybe I can get that a little further back. Let's see if I can get this straight. Well, now using my favorite little level app on my phone, I'm within 1.3 degrees of vertical, which I think that's going to be satisfactory for these purposes. Because again, all this thing is doing is holding the opener from moving, you know, this way. That is resisting the torque imparted by the motor as it turns the jack shaft. So vertical isn't necessarily the most important thing. What's most important is that it's a secure mounting. So that is good, and I'm going to go ahead and mount that up. We've got the stabilizer bracket securely lagged in place, and now we're ready to mount the opener and secure it to the bracket. So we are just doing some final tightening on this little screw that goes into the housing that holds the opener to its mounting bracket. This is an 11 millimeter I'm using. It's probably actually an imperial size, but I don't care. This 11 works perfectly fine on here. And now that is secure, the next piece is to screw down this collar. And so the collar grabs on this shaft here on the opener, and as I mentioned before, it's keyed onto the jack shaft, and you tighten down these bolts and that grips it in place, and now the opener will be ready to operate the door. Well, once we finish all the wiring. And on these, I am using a 13 millimeter, and it's probably a 1/2 inch, you know, a 1/2 inch bolt, but again, it doesn't matter. It is nice to have a little ratcheting wrenches for this, because this is tedious, this part. All right, this is now solidly mounted. All of the bolts securing the collar to the shaft and the drive motor are torqued to German specs, good and tight. And we have our stabilizing bracket secured to the wall there and to the housing. And now it is going to be time to run some wires. We've got to run wires down for the safety sensors that go to either side of the door. And the first thing actually that we have to do is hook up the emergency release cord, because right now I can't open the door. The motor is locked, and there's a little wire that comes out the bottom, and this is where you attach the emergency cord that lets you open the door by pulling this down. It unlatches the internals so you can operate the door manually. These are the safety sensors that are already installed on the first door. And one of the nuances of the install on this door in particular is that I had to space the safety sensors away from the wall a bit further because of all this apparatus on the door. This is a more of a commercial style door. It's pretty heavy duty, being 14 feet tall, and so all these brackets stick out really far, so I had to push these out. So I've got to go make another couple of little spacers for the other side. All right, now I'm going to mount these extension blocks. Perfect. Splitting. That's great. All right, fine. I'll pre-drill. Alrighty, that will hold the safety sensor bracket. One nuance to be aware of when installing these guys, especially really on a double door setup. This says red transmitter, green receiver. And so what you want to make sure of is that your two transmitters are pointing away from each other. So in this case, I'm putting the transmitters on the inner side of the door, right, rather than the outer, and the receivers will be on the outer side. That means basically they can't interfere with each other, like one door can't transmit into the other door's receiver and vice versa. So just something to be watchful of when you install any double garage door with these light beam sensors. Well, we've got the safety sensors mounted on both sides. Only a little bit of swearing because these little crappy Phillips head screws that they provide like to round out. So luckily they're also a 1/4 inch hex head. So using the nut driver on this on the power screwdriver, I was able to drive them in no problem. But yeah, that's ready to go, and now I just gotta run a whole bunch of wire up and over to the main unit, and then wire down to this one. We'll do that after lunch. All right, I am back from lunch, and I'm up here in the scaffolding doing some of the wiring. I'm starting with the little safety sensors because that's kind of the first thing that allows you to operate the door and get it configured to set the limits, the height and the lowering side, and the pressure and all that stuff. And so basically, you just run the wire right up alongside the door there from the sensor, and it'll get plugged into some of these little sensor ports in here. And the other one is going to run up and across the top and back down the other side of the door, and we'll get that wired in next. And now this is my least favorite part. I have to crawl around up here in the rafters to get the wire across to the other side of the door. And it's not for the reason you might think. I don't mind the heights. You know, I really I don't know, for whatever reason, this doesn't bother me. I feel fairly secure. The rafters are here. I can brace myself however I need to. But it's just a pain crawling through here. You know, you got to kind of bend and twist and wind and, you know, all this stuff. And man, it is just slow going. So I've got to get this wire secured across to the other side, and then I'll just drop it down and go and attach it from the bottom. But I'm going to put the camera away while I do this because it's not a good idea to work like this one-handed. All right, well, I got that done. Got it over to the other side, and now I just have to get up into that corner with the ladder and pull it down. I'm not sure if I can reach with Jeffrey, but I might give it a shot, because if I can reach up there on the boom lift, that's way more secure than fooling around on a ladder. I really don't like getting up on the extension ladder. It's not so bad in the corner over there because there's at least limited space where the ladder can move, but the security of the cage on the boom lift is so much better. Well, I got up into the lift, got it out at full extension of the upper boom, and I've got the jib out as far as it goes, and I am just 6 feet too short from the doorway there. I can't reach it to get that wire where it needs to go with the lift in its current position. So I either have to pack up the lift and pull it forward a few feet so that I can then unpack it, go back up, and tack the first, 3 nails in at the top of the wiring, or I have to get my extension ladder out, suck it up, go into the corner here, tack up the first 3 nails, and be done. I think I know the answer. If you guessed that I was going to use the extension ladder, you're right. It's not so bad. There's a good spot to kind of balance it in there, and it's relatively stable and secure here. And now I've got that security sensor wire coming all the way down. And now to wire that up, we're going to give ourselves a little bit of extra. I'm going to split the end of this wire. This is like 20 gauge, and it's supposed to just be able to tear, but the plastic is a little too hard, so it doesn't tear, which means I have to split it with the razor. And don't cut towards yourself like I'm doing, because eventually you'll cut yourself, like I have many times. All right, there we go. And then you just route this through a little hole on the side of the bracket. And get these guys opened up. Strip the end just a bit. And I'll make a little loop over the end. We'll put it behind that screw. Always do your loops the same direction that you're tightening the screw, so that you're not backing the wire out while you're screwing it down. I don't really know how these sensors work. I know it's some beam of light, I think it's infrared that it uses. The weird thing is with these, there's no polarity to any of the wiring, so you just attach everything, the 2 on this side, the 2 on the other side, and the 2 up at the top of the main drive unit, and it just works. It's been like that on every garage door opener I've ever installed. Don't really know anything about it, but they work. we're installing the safety beam system, and there's a series of terminals on the underside of the opener unit. And as I mentioned earlier, if you've got a dual door setup, you want the two red LED units in the center with the green ones on the outside. That way they don't interfere with each other. You connect all of the safety photocells in parallel to the terminals on this one that are marked STB 1 and 2. And it's very simple. So I'm going to go up there and hook that up, and then we'll make sure that the safety sensors are aligned. All right, that's all wired up to the safety beam connector, and you can't see it probably, but I've got a solid red light and a solid green light, which means those two sensors are perfectly aligned, and the door should be ready to program. The next part is getting the battery backup installed, which there's a couple of screws that you take out of the main chassis. You slide this on and then put the screws back in. Now that is firmly mounted in place. Plug this into the slot marked BBU for battery backup. Now we'll just reinstall the front cover and get ready to program the opener. One of the nice things with this Genie system is that they send these out pre-paired, the remotes. And now we've got the up and down travel limits set, and the force profile is set. The door opens just fine, goes all the way over to its spring stops, and it's working great. Well, this install went pretty much perfectly. I had a few snags getting the Wi-Fi set up, but I think that's just kind of normal. Sometimes it takes a couple of times to get these things to register with the Wi-Fi. You know, you try a couple times, put the password in, try again, and eventually it'll connect up. It's kind of a boring process, so I didn't see any purpose in really demonstrating that, and it's well documented in the manual. But now I have my opener button over here on this side for this door, and it opens, working nicely. And then I've got the other opener on the other side by that door. Seems pretty logical to me to have them, you know, one on one side, one on the other. And I've got the app to control it, and yeah, it all works pretty well. At any rate, it is getting cold and I am getting hungry, and I think I'm going to stop for the day and go in for dinner. Interesting noise. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I hope that you got some inspiration from seeing the install of this garage door opener. It's really not that hard, even though it is a little bit of a hassle being up on a scaffold or a ladder or something. I definitely recommend the scaffold if you can get one. They're not that expensive, and honestly, it's worth it for the stability of working up high if you have to install a tall door opener like this one. If you want to see more projects like this, go ahead and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.